Hello and welcome to my channel. It's Monica from Crafting with Quilling Lady, and today I have new series for you featuring craft magazines. For the first episode I chose Crafters Inspiration issue 27. It has an amazing magazine, a stamp set with sentiments, a stencil and a corner die. Here you can see 3 cards I created using this kit, and if you are interested, please watch this video and give it a go. I would like to see your cards using this kit. You can leave the link in the comments below. So let's have a look at card number 1. So we are going to use the corner die and a square die. Whichever square die you choose, make sure that the corner die fits inside. So we're going to die cut it once here, and we are also going to die cut just the square panel, which will be our back. We're going to use liquid glue to put the corner die here on our back panel. I always use liquid glue because it gives me a little bit of time to move my die cuts and make sure that they are stuck neatly. When this is done, I encourage you to use any alcohol markers you have at home. They don't really have to be expensive. For this card, I actually use very cheap markers. And we're going to color in all the flowers. If you go over the line, that's absolutely fine. Don't worry, we're going to cover it later with another panel with the corner die on top. So don't worry. When you work with alcohol markers, you always use different colors and try to make the blend seamless. To do it, actually, you just go back and forward with the same colors. When you do it, the colors mix really beautifully and the blend is so beautiful. I also chose 2 different green colors for the stems and leaves. When this is done, we are going to use our liquid glue to put another panel on top and to cover our lines where we use the markers on top. And that will actually give us really beautiful stained glass window effect. When this is nice and ready, we can use scissors to cut the excess of the paper, just to make sure that everything is nice and has straight lines. And now we're going to use glossy accents, and we are going to fill in all those holes with the petals and leaves and stems. When you use glossy accents, just make sure you don't leave any empty spaces and there are no bubbles. You can use a pin to pop the bubbles, because when it dries, the bubbles will stay and it doesn't really look nice. So when this is ready, we are going to leave it on side for a couple of hours to dry. And now I'm going to choose a sentiment for my card, and we're going to use black fine embossing powder to heat emboss our sentiment. As usual, we are going to use embossing buddy, Versamark, and fine black powder by Cosmic Shimmer. If you miss a spot here with your embossing powder, that's absolutely fine. You can always go back and add more powder. Versamark is really sticky, so it will take more embossing powder. When you heat emboss, make sure that your tool is hot before you move it to the sentiment. And now we are going to create our back panel for our sentiment. We're going to use Distress Oxide and blending tool. I didn't use much ink here. I just wanted the color to be very pale and match the color of my flowers. When this is ready, we are going to fussy cut both the sentiment and the back panel. When you fussy cut your sentiment, when you turn it over, it's much easier to see the straight line. And I'm using liquid glue to put those 2 pieces together. When this is ready, we are going to move on to our front panel. And for our front panel, we are going to need the stencil from the kit. I chose the same pink color and also the yellow color to create a gradient. You can use washi tape to make sure that the stencil is stuck really good to your panel, and it won't move when you add the color here and you do blending. So my idea was to have yellow on the left hand side and pink color on the right hand corner at the top. I didn't use much color on the left, I just wanted the gradient to be really nice. So now we are ready, and we are going to use again our liquid glue and put it on top of our floral panel with the glossy accents. This gives our card so much dimension, and the glossy accents give such a beautiful look, and it really reminds me of stained glass window effect. It's so beautiful. And when this is nice and ready, we are going to put it on a card base. I'm going to use foam parts for my sentiment just to make sure it stands out a little bit more. And our card is nearly done. We just need a couple of gems here. I wanted to make sure that the gems will match the color of the flowers. There is so much dimension on this card. I absolutely love it. And I really didn't use so many double-sided foam pads. So here I'm adding the small gems in dark pink and purple. They are so beautiful and they match the stencil as well. I usually like to add some gems in the corner, and I think that if you add gems, threes work amazing. So I did 3 gems in the corner and 3 on the left and 3 on the right of the sentiment. That gives it a really beautiful look. Now our first card is finished and we can move on to card number 2. So here I'm going to use 2 oval dies to create a frame. And for this card, we are actually going to emboss on acetate. When you do it, just make sure you check your manual for your die cutting machine, because every single machine is different and has different plate combination. I have to say that this embossing on acetate is absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love it, and I will definitely do it again. So for this card, for this front panel, we are going to use metallic markers from Spectrum Noir, and I didn't really record it because it was so tricky to see it when I was recording, and I had to move the acetate closer to my eyes, so you won't really see me doing it here. But what I did when I colored in all the flowers and leaves, I made sure the color dried and I put another layer on top, which actually gave it such a beautiful look. So when this is ready, I use the bigger oval frame and I die cut it so it actually matched the frame, and I also die cut the back panel using the bigger oval die. And now I'm going to stick it using liquid glue. Oh, if you do some coloring on acetate, always color it on the back, not on the front, because then it will smudge. And when my acetate is stuck to the back panel, we are going to add the frame. It will create such a beautiful dimension and very nice detail, because the frame has some dots here as well. When this is nice and dry, I would leave it for a couple of minutes, and what you can do, you can leave it flat and you can put acrylic block on top just to make sure that the acetate sticks really well to the card. And now we are going to create our background, and we're going to use the same stencil. I'm using the same washi tape here to adhere the stencil to the card, just to make sure it won't move when I add the color. For this background, I chose only one color, and with this one, I went really heavy-handed on the corners and very gently in the middle, so we can see actually the gradient of the color. I just chose this color so it actually matched the color of my flowers on acetate. I just chose pink. I thought that if I added more purple, it would just be too much. But I have to say that I'm really pleased with how the background turned out. I absolutely love it, and this stencil is so beautiful. It has so many uses, and I will definitely go back to it later on. So when this is ready, we are going to create our back panel as well using the same Distress Oxide ink, and we're going to do it very heavy-handed, so we can actually see darker color which will match our gradient dotty stenciled panel. You can use any color that you want. I just wanted this card to match all the colors. And when this is ready, we are going to put them together. So what I did, I put I chose a sentiment. You can do it, and a little bit tip for you, if it doesn't fit on your acrylic block, you can do it diagonally. It really works. So as usual, when we do heat embossing, we're going to use embossing body and Versamark, just to make sure that our embossing powder will stick. So I'm using Versamark, and I'm going to put my sentiment on the bottom of the front panel, because on top we are going to have our floral panel. I just wanted to make sure that everything is nice and it actually has enough space on the card. So again, I'm using black fine embossing powder by Cosmic Shimmer. Because we use embossing body, we don't really have to worry if we have any excess of embossing powder on our card. And as usual, I really encourage you to preheat your tool before you move it to your embossing powder. And it has such a beautiful shine. I absolutely love this embossing powder. And now we are going to use double-sided tape and put our background panels together. As usual, I'm going to use liquid glue on top of double-sided tape, just to make sure that after a few years everything will be stuck together. So here is our back panel, and we're going to put it on our card base, and this one actually measures 5 by 7 inches. You can choose any base card you want. I just encourage you just to make mats and layers according to your base card. And now we're going to use our floral panel and put it on top. And I'm going to use just liquid glue and put it on top. And still we have some space. And we are going to use some gems. As I said before, I really like to add gems in threes. So 3 purple gems and 3 pink gems at the bottom of the card. So here it is. I really like this look. I think that we need to do more embossing on acetate. It's such a beautiful and unique look. And now we can move on to card number 3. So here we have our square panel, and I also die cut the corner die here, and we're going to use it as a stencil. I chose 3 primary colors, and we are going to use rainbow effect, and we're going to go around the square panel here. I chose the pink, blue and yellow. With ink blending, you can layer the colors on top and they will blend so beautifully. The effect with rainbow colors here is absolutely amazing, and I really encourage you to stretch your dies and use them also as a stencil. With distress oxides and any water reactive inks, you can mix and blend them, and you don't really need lots of the colors. 3 here work absolutely amazing. Just make sure that you choose the colors wisely. Don't choose like red and green, because they will create brown color. And when this is done, I'm also going to use green color to add some leaves in between the flowers. You can use any green that you want, and I really think that if you add the leaves in between the flowers, it adds so much to the card. It doesn't really look empty. And when this is done, we're going to clean our desk using just spray water and a tissue, and now we can move on to our next step. So here we're going to use circle die, and we're going to create a frame using gold mirror card and back panel using white card. And for this card, I chose Color Your World for the sentiment. That's why I actually created the rainbow effect with the flowers. And I heat embossed it using gold embossing powder. And we are going to stick it on top here. So I've got the base card here. As usual, I've got double-sided tape on the back of my panel. I'm going to mount it on gold mirror card, which is actually the same as the frame around the sentiment. And we're going to put it on our base card. And for the sentiment panel, I'm going to use double-sided foam parts, because it gives so much dimension here. And I have to say that if you make any mistake when you use a stencil and you add the flowers on your panel, don't worry, because we are going to cover it with some gems. For this card, I chose gold gems because they match so nicely with the gold mirror card, and I actually went around the sentiment, and I think it gives it such a beautiful look. And when I'm done with the gems around the sentiment, I chose few spots on the card just randomly, or sometimes I just wanted to cover a small spot that I made using ink blending technique. And I have to say that if you put the gems randomly on the card, it looks more organic, and I really like this look. And here is our final card. I would like to know which card is your favorite. If you were inspired to create any of the cards using this kit, I would really like to see your creations. Please leave the link down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you will give it a try. And don't forget, you can always emboss on acetate, and when you use metallic markers, the look is absolutely amazing. It really gives that proper stained glass window effect, not only with glossy accents as we did on our first card, but on acetate it looks absolutely amazing. Have a good day. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I can't wait to see your creations. Happy crafting!